Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to do an update on the heatwave that has now arrived, with temperatures today widely into the mid to high 20s, just about touching 30 degrees in a few locations, rounded 30 degrees, and is likely to continue until at least Sunday, maybe even Monday or Tuesday for some areas in the south and the east. So I'll run through what's going on with the live radar at the moment, look at some of the temperatures. We'll have a look at the latest temperature observations over on NetWeather. We'll have a look at the UKV for the temperatures and precipitation over the next 5 days. There is the risk of a few odd thunderstorms around, maybe through Thursday into Friday. And the temperatures, of course, are going to be insanely hot. By Wednesday, we're looking temperatures widely into the low 30s. And at the moment, the UKV has temperatures topping 32 degrees, could just about nudge to 33 or 34, but we keep seeing very small incremental updates and upgrades in the temperatures over the last couple of days, going from sort of peak temperatures of 30, 31, now looking at 32, 33. So I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere towards the latter part of this week does reach maybe even 34 degrees, eclipsing any temperatures we have seen so far this summer, and we're seeing this in early September. We'll also run through some of the longer range runs, looking at what they're showing over the next sort of a week or so, and of course looking at what could be happening as this heat wave breaks down, because the amount of energy associated with this heat wave and its pattern could allow for quite a lively end to the heat wave in around 7, 8, 9 days time, with the risk of some big thunderstorms and maybe some heavier rain for many areas as well. But for the time being, we've got beautiful, sunny, hot weather for at least the next 7 days. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, which do like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in description. So you start on the live radar, you can see another beautiful dry day, a few patchy areas of rain across the far north of Scotland, but most areas it's wall-to-wall sunshine, temperatures widely in the mid to high 20s. Couldn't ask for better conditions right now. This is really perfect summer weather. If you like heat, this is the perfect conditions for early September. Not a cloud in the sky, as I said. You can see to our south there is a lot of rain and a lot of thunderstorms across parts of Spain and Portugal, and it's this low down to our southwest being cut off, allowing southerly winds to move up for much of the Mediterranean, for France, and of course for the UK. It's this low pressure that is causing those southerly winds and causing this big push of hot air. So you can see, if we put on the temperatures as of around 3 p.m, much of the British Isles is warmer than much of western parts, or central, western, southern parts of Spain and Portugal, because low pressure sat here, driving up southerly winds from Algeria, Libya, generally North Africa, through the Med, through France, and now arriving in the UK. The hottest air is going to arrive around the next 24 hours or so, and it will arrive in time to peak those temperatures through Wednesday, Thursday, and slowly dropping off into the weekend. So it's still going to be very hot, still likely to reach 30 degrees into the weekend, but maybe not quite as hot as Wednesday or Thursday will likely be. But you can see the darker reds appearing pretty much everywhere, even along the far south coast. That really is a sign of a proper heat wave. Even the south coast is seeing very hot conditions, not too much respite from a sea breeze here, as the air is coming directly from the south. Stunning conditions. Perhaps some northern areas not quite as warm, maybe only low 20 through this heat wave. But remember, we are into early September now, so it does get much more difficult for these northern regions to see the hot conditions, as the North Atlantic and generally the Arctic is starting to cool down. You see the air across Greenland, even higher routes of Iceland now getting towards freezing northern Canada. So winter is descending, but we are just about hanging on to the summer conditions at the moment and for the next week or so. Now, if you look at the latest maximum temperatures, do just briefly update the page, see if we've got any updates. Just about getting the 3 p.m. observations through at the moment. As you can see, widely we're seeing 28 to 29 degrees, 29.4 the highest on NetWeather here at 3 p.m. in Heathrow. I have heard some rumblings on Twitter that we've seen some rounded 30 degrees, i.e. temperatures observed above 29.5. So we are just about on to that sort of 29, 30 degrees. Now, the UKV, as we'll see in a minute, was only forecasting temperatures reaching 28, 29, so perhaps we are half a degree to maybe a degree above what the UKV has predicted on its resolution. So it doesn't mean the UKV is wrong, just on the resolution that the UKV has, that it was showing 28 and 29. So it does just show over the next couple of days, when we see maybe a 31, a 32, we could see a 33 locally in there as well. But we are reaching heatwave thresholds, remember, in London, South East, East Midlands, East Anglia, heatwave thresholds are 28 degrees, and that does incrementally lower for northern regions and far western regions across parts of Northern Ireland, Scotland, for example, down to 25. So we are breaching heatwave thresholds quite widely, and of course, officially this will be a heatwave on Wednesday for many regions when it's been 3 consecutive days of that threshold being breached. Now, if you look at the UKV, we'll just run through the precipitation quickly because although it is bone dry at the moment, and for many the next 7 days will be bone dry and pretty cloud free, there is the risk of a few showers and thunderstorms in places, as I said, maybe through Thursday and Friday. Now you can see through this afternoon, stunning sunshine up and down the country, no exceptions really, maybe apart from the far north of Scotland. Everywhere pretty stunning. That could into tomorrow, maybe a bit more high-level cloud across parts of the Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland, maybe Wales, and maybe the isolated shower across the Republic of Ireland, but still stunning early September day. Into Wednesday, you can see another decent day, a bit more high-level cloud, and this is because the hottest air is arriving. With increased humidity, it does allow some high-level cloud to develop. And we'll see in a minute, there is actually quite significant CAPE around, i.e. energy available for convection. Of course, CAPE meaning convective available potential energy. But, of course, we don't have the lift. We don't have the trigger for those thunderstorms. We're under higher pressure, and that's why we're not going to see big thunderstorms. It is primed atmospheric conditions, but we don't have that trigger. We don't have that low-pressure system. We don't have a convergence zones. We don't really have anything like that to trigger major storms. But there is the risk, as we'll see in a minute. Now, we progress through Wednesday into Thursday. You can see a few showers and thunderstorms do break out overnight into Thursday. And this is because with all that energy around, very subtle triggers could pop off storms. So we're in a bit of a predicament. Thursday into Friday, we could see nothing at all. High pressure could dominate, and it's widely dry and hot. But there is the risk. If we did see a bit of a trigger, bit of convergence zone. Remember, all you need for a convergence zone is a few is colliding winds, which is very possible, especially for coastal areas with sea breezes developing, very much microclimate conditions. We could see some locally quite intense and large storms develop. You can see it's most likely through the Irish Sea towards northern areas through Thursday, and again maybe Northern Ireland, Scotland seeing a few thunderstorms develop before they do move away as we progress into Friday. And you can see by Friday, another stunning, beautiful day. Again, could be a few patches of cloud, but generally really decent. And as we head into Saturday, still stunning. But you can see out to our north and west, a bit more cloud and a bit more rain starting to drift in. That could just about start to impact northern and western areas through the weekend. But as I said, most areas for the weekend will still be under heatwave conditions, with that only really waning widely as we head into Monday and Tuesday next week, where we do slowly flush that hot air away. But it will take its time. Eastern England could still be well above average in 7, 8, 9 days' time as that hot air slowly gets flushed away. If we look at the upper air temperature, you can see it is rising significantly right now as we head to this afternoon. You see the hottest air is just to our south, and it will start to move in through tomorrow, starting to impact temperatures tomorrow, but it really establishes itself into Wednesday, and that's where we see most likely the hottest conditions Wednesday and a Thursday with that 20 to 22 degree isotherm across the southeast. I've said this in a number of videos in the last couple of days, that if we saw these sort of conditions in July time, I would be expecting high 30s, even potentially topping 40 degrees once again. It's truly exceptional upper air temperatures, which is bringing this heat wave in September, and it's sustained heat wave. That's the thing. It's not just a 1 or 2 day wonder. It is multiple days, week-long plus heat wave. See, if we saw this in July with the build-up of heat, I wouldn't be surprised to see widely high 30s, beating temperature records potentially, and eclipsing 40 degrees once again. But with the waning daylight hours, the waning UV levels in the sun, even though it doesn't make too much of a significant difference to the general feel, it does just take a couple of degrees away from those temperatures, and that's why we're looking widely at the low 30s instead of widely the high 30s, mid-high 30s, locally 40 degrees. You see the upper air temperatures start to drop through Friday and Saturday in the far northwest as weather fronts and cooler air start to try and push in, but you can see the majority still staying well above average conditions, and that will likely last, as said, until Monday time. You can see the mixed level CAPE. There is significant CAPE arriving through Wednesday into Thursday, maybe even lasting into Friday, and this is because the air mass is very hot and very humid. We look at the dew point, and we can see very high dew points, maybe touching 20 degrees through Wednesday into Thursday, so extremely hot and humid air, but as I said, no major trigger, and that's why those storms may not exist at all, and if they do exist, will be in a limited capacity in localized areas. But we do need to keep a close eye on it, because things can change. If a trigger does develop, then it could get very lively at short notice. But if we do have a look at the thing most people are probably very interested in, is those temperatures. Now you can see this afternoon predicted widely 27, 28, locally 29. As we saw from both the net weather and from some of our reports we've seen 29 degrees quite widely, and locally just about getting a rounded 30. So as I said, about half a degree to maybe a degree higher than what the UKV was forecasting here. Again, doesn't mean it's wrong, just mean that on this resolution we could be seeing a degree or so higher. If we do run into Tuesday, overnight temperatures not going to be too oppressive yet, still mid-teens in many areas, still very warm, maybe high teens across the far south, but it really gets oppressive around Wednesday time. Tuesday afternoon, widely 28, 29, topping out at 30, and again, locally could be 31. So the heat wave starting to ramp up, and as I said, peaking on Wednesday and Thursday. You see through Tuesday evening into Wednesday, those temperatures overnight are slightly higher, more around the 16 to 18 degrees, maybe a tropical night just about in London and the far south coast. And into Wednesday afternoon, those temperatures rising even higher in that southeast corner. As we saw from the upper air temperatures, they do move slightly further eastwards and southward, meaning the top temperatures are likely in the east and the south, looking here widely 30 to 32 degrees. As said, locally could be 33. And I wouldn't be surprised with that large swathe of 31 or 32 to maybe even see a 34. Remember, the temperature record is 35.6 degrees. Will we threaten that? From looking at the latest runs, it's unlikely, but it's not out of the ballpark. There is a low chance that the models are underestimating it slightly, and we could see that temperature breached later this week. If we look at Thursday, look at those overnight temperatures not dropping below 18 to 20 degrees quite widely, so extremely oppressive into Thursday morning and Thursday afternoon. Once again, widely 30 to 32 degrees for a large area, and that you see that bullseye area of heat is further northwards and further westwards, more across the Midlands here, still impacting many areas of London and the far south, but more into the Midlands as that hot air moves further inland. Once again, get a further push of heat. Again, could see a local 33 or 34. Finally, into Friday, you can see the temperatures starting to drop ever so slightly, back further southwards and eastwards. Widely, though, still 30, 31, maybe a local 32 or 33. And into Saturday, from the looks of the upper air temperatures, we'd expect it to slowly drop. Still looking around 30, maybe 31, but unlikely to get towards 33 or 34, which is a possibility from Wednesday to Friday. Now, if we do have a look at the longer range now, have a look at the GFS, GM, ECMWF and the ensembles to see how that does develop over the next few days. We'll be able to see what happens with the heatwave in these models' predictions, and what we could be looking at for the breakdown. Now, you see the 20-degree isotherm arrives over the next couple of days and dominates in many southern and eastern areas through much of this working week. By the weekend, though, by Saturday, you can see the 20-degree isotherms degraded away because, of course, it's September time. It's not going to last all too much further northwards. The 15-degree isotherm starts to retreat, but still hangs on into the southeast through Sunday. So still could see temperatures around the high 20s, maybe touching 30 degrees because of some legacy and remnants of that heat at the surface. By Monday, still warm, still just about nudging the 15-degree isotherm in the southeast, but by Tuesday, we're starting to see that air cool. Still pretty warm and humid, still above average in the south and the east, but cooler conditions in the north and west. And by Wednesday into Thursday, all areas fresher conditions. But you can see some big, lively lows start to develop, and it could mean quite unsettled, maybe even a thunderstorm pattern into longer term. There's also the risk that we could see recurrence of this high pressure rebuilding. Normally, when weather patterns happen, they do tend to repeat themselves. Very rarely do we just see a major high pressure system just break down and see no re-emergence. Sometimes it can happen, but regularly when we have a pattern, it does repeat itself over a number of weeks. And that could be what's happening here. Another high pressure system built in and another push of southerly winds. Again, unlikely to last as long as this high pressure system has, but could see another burst of heat towards the middle part of September. I do just want to briefly check the 2 meter temperatures, especially for Wednesday through to Friday, see if the GFS is any higher than the UKV. Now we can see Wednesday's temperatures widely 30 to 31 degrees. If we look at Thursday's temperatures, we're looking once again 30, 31, maybe a local 32, and finally Friday looking at again 30, 31. So around the same as the UKV, maybe slightly lower, but of course it's got a lower resolution, so it's unlikely to show anything higher than the UKV either. So pretty bang on from the GFS and the UKV here with agreement. If we look at the GM, again putting the upper air temperatures, very hot conditions coming up from the south. 20 degrees firm arrives and dominates that hot air all the way through the weekend. And you see the 20 degrees firm stays in the southeast until Friday. That could mean GMs maybe slightly higher than the other runs. We have seen it being statistically just slightly a bit lower than the other runs, but it'll be interesting to see what they show in a minute. It's a Saturday. We do see that 50 degrees firm just to our south, so moving away slightly quicker, but does push back in through Sunday and then slowly into Monday. The warm air hangs on just about, but by Tuesday we'll into fresher air. So a day or so quicker than the GFS, but still early next week in agreement with that, and quite lively westerly winds and low pressure systems moving in off the Atlantic. If we do look at those 2 meter temperatures, again, if we do run to Wednesday, see what it's showing. Actually, if we just compare to this afternoon, you can see here, widely 27, 28, locally 29, so maybe a degree, just about a degree off from what the GFS and the UKV what the UKV was showing. If we do run to Wednesday, again, top temperatures around the 30 degree mark, so maybe a degree or two lower than the other runs. Thursday, again, slightly higher actually, 30 to 32, so GM does look like it's picked up a little bit the last run, a couple of runs or so, and finally into Friday, still very hot, 29 or 30 degrees. Here, Thursday looks like a really hot day. Again, 32 degrees from GM, locally could be higher, 33 or 34, just highlighting the possibility of even hotter conditions later this week. If we finish by having a look at the ECMWF and then look at the ensembles finally, you can see the southerly wind continuing to push in, and you can see it is very hot air through much of the rest of this week. The 15 degree isotherm slowly starts to get pushed away through the weekend, but doesn't actually exit until Monday afternoon, and the cold air, or Atlantic fresher air, moves in for Tuesday afternoon in line with the other runs. If you do look at the United Kingdom look, again looking at those 2 meter temperatures, you can see this afternoon it's definitely down on what we're seeing in reality. Eastern WF 26, 27 degrees here, whereas in reality we've seen 28, 29 and a rounded 30. So we have to take that into account. Maybe it's statistically a bit lower. Wednesday's temperatures from the Eastern WF here, 28 to 30. Again, if we had that 1 or 2 degrees there, it looks likely it's down. We're looking at 31, 32. Thursday, similar, showing 28, 29 here, probably 30 to 32. And then finally Friday, again, 28 to 29 here, locally probably 31 or 32. So Eastern WF, for some reason, is down on the other runs, but still showing very hot conditions, well above average, and yeah, beautiful heatwave conditions for all as we head into the weekend. Now, to finish by looking at your ensembles, you can see the latest GFS. We're seeing the spike in the upper air temperatures over the next sort of 24 to 36 hours, and those around that 20 degree isotherm hangs around until about Friday time, before it slowly starts to degrade away to around the 10-degree level by early next week. It actually stays above average, so yes, fresher air comes in temporarily, but generally most Ensemble members have us above average. Still quite a bit of precipitation, but maybe not quite as high for the breakdown early next week as we were seeing yesterday. Again, that could just be, one run deviating, but definitely indicating perhaps that it's not a clear-cut breakdown, a bit of a slower breakdown, and that would generally mean those temperatures are slowly dropping off over a number of days instead of a sudden sort of 24-hour push away. And of course, with a slower breakdown, there would be a lesser gradient in those temperatures, and that would indicate, reduced amounts of rainfall, less thunderstorms, less explosive breakdown. So we're interested to see if that does continue in the next couple of days. The 2 mean temperatures looking insanely hot. Look at that, reaching 30 degrees. And remember, these are the 12 and 6 p.m. Predictions from low-resolution Ensemble members. Again, locally will be higher at that 3 p.m. point, a good few degrees higher than this over the coming days, even into the middle of September, still showing low to maybe mid-20s as a possibility. The dew points are insanely warm. Look at that, widely 14 or 50 degrees. And again, these are low-resolution runs. High-resolution runs like the UKV showing it could even top at 19 or 20 degrees in a few spots over the coming days. Again, making it feel insanely warm and humid. And finally, if we have a look at the ECMWF Ensemble members, upper temperatures peaking over the next few days, only slowly dropping into next week. Does drop more significantly and a lot quicker than the GFS was showing, with a lot more precipitation. So ECMWF Ensemble members perhaps showing more of a clear-cut change in the pressure pattern and temperatures and air mass. So we will have to see next week, but it is still a good 7-8 days away, so there will still be a lot of uncertainty. The only big certainty we do have is going to be insanely hot the rest of this working week. We could reach 33 or 34 degrees through Wednesday, Thursday, maybe even Friday. And, of course, the temperature record of 35.6 degrees is unlikely to be broken, but it could be threatened, and we'll have to just keep you updated on what happens with that. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you have enjoyed. Make sure you stay safe over this next week. It is going to be very hot and humid. With those very high humidity levels, you're going to have to be drinking a lot more water than normal. And of course, although it is autumn now, UV levels are still high across the south, medium further northwards, but you can still get sunburn in an hour or two outside. So make sure you do stay hydrated, wear your sun cream, especially during the sort of peak daylight hours around that 11 to 3 p.m. point, and do stay safe out there, as yes, it's great to enjoy this heat, but it still of course can be dangerous, even though we are now into early autumn. So as I said, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed. Make sure you stay tuned as well, continue to have updates over the coming days, and I'll see you again for another video soon.